on it immediately after her report. Her reasoning for calling us a sect was based on, according to her protocol, being allowed one word to describe us, and it seems only sect was on the preferred list of words the journalists and reporters could choose from. On the phone call with her, she stated, "I can't call you universal beings or a religious corporation. It must be specific, one word." We said, "Then call us spiritual, call us indigenous, call us a nation of Moors, call us universal, but we are not a sect." By this point, the news reports were out to the public for 4 hours, and all those reports and journalists with mics and cameras deliberately referred to us as a sect or religion, which we never stated we were. From a metaphysical perspective, we have to understand that it's television, and every reporter is a puppet. Now, one of the interesting things that happened is one of the so-called black reporters that work at this same station that Sue Gambani works for was telling us that he was a member in the Nation of Islam back in the day. And that night on the news, 6 o'clock news, they had a special on Mohammed Ali. Alright? They spoke about Elijah Muhammad and him being a member of the Moorish Science Temple. They spoke about Fraud Muhammad being a member of the Moorish Science Temple. This is on the news, 6 o'clock news in Canada. Right? It's not like they don't know the truth about our nationality and our birthrights. Our problem is that we don't know the truth and we don't want to accept that truth because of all the fiction that's been backed up against our culture. So for example, we have this war against nationality going on in New York right now, and you know, there's a energy right now that is making us infight amongst each other. So a black nationalist wants to hear me say black power, right? But as a Moor, I would tell you that as Sutek. Because black power, from a law perspective, is not in your favor, right? Because everything black is negative. And if you're pushing some black power, it should be Sutek. Just like instead of pushing peace, we push Islam.
Even Hotep.
Even Hotep. Right? But if we allow ourselves to continue to get punched below the belt by people based on our ignorance, that's not their fault, that's our fault for us being ignorant, right? Now, even though there were a lot of slander basically on the Moorish movement. So they had Melissa Long of National Post said that we're a religious sect. CTV Toronto said the MSTOV is a small sect. Noor Javid called us an obscure Moorish American sect and a congregation of Moorish Americans. Teresa Boyle of the Toronto Star claimed that we are a religious sect. Kate Hammer of the Globe and Mail said that we're a religious sect. Internet news sites said that we're unified by religious beliefs. CBC News labeled us a religious sect, type of obscure religious sect, when we're not sectarians as Moors. You know what I mean? We are not mere believers. A key point to studying is to find other opinions on the same subject matter to reach a conclusion based on facts, not misrepresented opinions. Peter Kosinski, a European journalist, said some very significant points regarding our status as Moorish Americans based on his personal knowledge or in-depth research of Moors, unlike the news-related, hurried, unproved research that puppet journalists and reporters of yellow journalism do to create a good story rather than put out the truth to the public. Principles of truth are universal, so anything contradictory is a lie. Peter Kosinski stated, members are a part of a Moorish nation and not subject to Canadian jurisdiction. About the Moors, he said, all of them believe that blacks in the US and therefore Canada are former blackamoors and followers of Islam, referring to their former treaties, and argue that they have Moroccan nationality, wear turbans or fezzes, and add the names El or Bey. Right? Toronto's Sun, Sharon Lem, had a report or an article, and the headline of the article was "Sect Believes in Mind Over Illness." The parents who were arrested in a dispute over their malnourished infant are members of a sect that believes illness is all in the mind, which can be used to cure the body. The 9-month-old parents were charged with obstruction of justice after a dispute at 6 Kids, where the 22-year-old mom refused to hand over the infant to doctors and left the hospital with the baby. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded in 1913 by Timothy Drew in Newark, New Jersey. Many of its practices were derived from Muslim observances, and the group was a forerunner of the Black Muslim movement. Drew's central teaching is that blacks were Moorish of Muslim origin. He advocated a return to Islam as the only means of redemption from racial oppression. The sect also believes African Americans are sovereign Moroccan nationals. It's not strange because you have to understand black people in America do not have full citizenship rights until 1965, said Professor Edward Curtis of Indiana University, Purdue University at Indianapolis. He's published books on African American Islam among blacks and the Moorish Science Temple. They believe in herbs and healing techniques through natural means. They also believe sickness is the matter of the mind and the body can be used to heal the body, Curtis said. Often, why this person would not be a monster or hate their baby is because they sincerely believe their forms of healing are possible, he said. They don't believe they have to adhere to the laws of Canada because they are citizens of another country, Curtis said. You have to understand that distrust is part of a deep history of a lack of political rights of people of African American descent, but it is also of abuse of black bodies by the medical establishment, he said. So it's very clear that we're not the only ones saying that we're black people and we're Negroes and coloreds. The whole world has this perception that we are these fictitious beings. Susan Nance, a historian at the University of Guelph, in a Defending the Moors Misconceptions by the Media article by Kate Hammer of the Globe and Mail, said, they call themselves Moorish Americans and believe they were descendants from Moors or North Africans who arrived on the American continent well before Christopher Columbus, at a time in history when terms like Irish American and Italian American had only begun to weave their way into the vernacular and the title African American didn't exist. Calling themselves Moorish Americans offered a sense of identity absent in labels like Negro, according to Ms. Nance. It was a way that African Americans could pinpoint something to say, I'm a descendant from that, not from slavery, she said. In the same article, Kate Hammer reiterates the fact Noble Drew Ali insisted that black Americans were Muslim in religion, Asiatic in race, and Moorish in nationality, and called on Moors to return to their original religion of Islam and their true national identity. And in this picture we can see the falcon, Heru, wearing his fez. You see Elijah Muhammad wearing his fez. We see His Imperial Majesty, Emperor of Ethiopia, wearing the Triple Crown, which is a fez. And we see Brother Deuce Muhammad Ali, who was the founder of Ancient Times and Orient Review newspaper that Brother Messiah Marcus Garvey worked for. Global News reporter Darrell Conyenbelt put out in his report about our Divine and National Movement that Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a circus magician. The Moorish Divine and National Movement through the Old Canaanite Temple, Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World, and Moorish Science Temple of America was established 8 decades ago by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, whose free national name was Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, who wasn't a circus magician. This reporter even claimed to be inept in knowing what this movement is about, but portrayed to the public subconsciously, with confidence, that the founder of this movement was basically a clown. Officially, the Professor Drew Ali, the adept, studied from the highest order of consciousness known to the European and Asiatic historians as the Egyptian mysteries. Keep in mind that America is also Africa in autochthonous history in North America. America comes from the prefix AME in Amexem and the suffix RICA in Africa. So you are in Africa already for those seeking to go back to Africa. The forum our prophet created was to wake up the unconscious, ancient Moabite autochthonous Moors of North, South, and Central America, anciently referred to as Northwest, Southwest Africa Amexem, and to correct the spiritual concepts that were adopted from the European Inquisitionists, reconstructors, and colonizers of the Al-Moroccan Empire. The Prophet stated this Moorish Divine and National Movement to introduce functional knowledge of the ancient ancestral Moabite disciplines through the 5 highest principles known to mankind: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. He came to teach unconscious Moors of their indigenous claim to the landmass North, Central, and South America, and that at that time and still today is under occupation by European foreigners, misnomer white people. He taught to be active in national and world spheres of civic activity. In lacking knowledge of true history, geography, high science, nationality, birthright theft, and astrologics, the divine and national Moors of this land labeled minorities, Negro, black, colored people, ignorantly abandoned their ancient culture through blind faith, hybrid belief systems, and contradicting unnatural, unspiritual concepts from gods of Europe. Moors placed themselves outside of birthrights, now called human rights, and divine natural law. The Prophet was not out to lunch, crazy, or juggling idealistic balls when he brought us the layout of self-governance through the Moorish Divine and National Movement. By opening a venue for us to proclaim our nationality, through changed literature that changed our thought processing, he made us national Moorish Americans of our own government within the corporate government fiction to which we are forced to live by torts, racketeering, fraud, threats, duress, and coercion. At the same time, our Prophet reestablished our divine government by birthrights and connecting the broken wires with higher powers. The government we live under is a national structure, not corporate, and the movement is a divine government within that structure. All national governments are made up of national citizens who all have a nationality. Our descent name makes us Moorish, and our geographical location on the earth plane makes us Al-Moroccan, misnomer American. No. We've been to court and had judges come up to us and stop us in our tracks to read our sashes that say Moorish Americans and demand that we visit Spain. Demand that we go to Spain and see the mosques that the Moors built that were turned into cathedrals and turned into churches. We've spoken to members in duty council with regard to people who claim to have nationalities that got themselves caught up in the system. And those people who actually work for the court, telling us that the courts are de facto and the rights that we seek cannot be found in those courts. These are people who actually work for the court. that once we present ourselves properly, we realize that people